The internet is on fire, and once again, 50 Cent is holding the match. Just when people thought the Diddy controversy couldn't get any darker, 50 drops a chilling announcement. A brand new documentary is coming, and this time, it's personal. No subliminal shots, no industry whispers. Just cold, calculated pressure that feels less like entertainment and more like psychological warfare. For years, 50 Cent has been warning everyone, posting memes, making jokes, laughing while others stayed silent. But now, the tone has shifted. This documentary isn't about nostalgia or music history, it's about power, secrets, and what happens when the curtain finally gets pulled back. Insiders are reportedly nervous. Old clips are resurfacing. Former allies are suddenly quiet. And Diddy, he's facing scrutiny like never before. What makes this so disturbing is how patient 50 has been. He didn't rush. He watched. He waited. And now when the world is already questioning everything, he's stepping in to tell his version of the story with receipts. Is this revenge? Is it justice? Or is it the most ruthless chess move hip-hop has ever seen? One thing is certain. This documentary isn't meant to entertain. It's meant to expose. And once it drops, nothing in the industry may ever be the same again. For years, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson has played a very specific role in hip-hop. The man who laughs last, while others rush to respond, deny, or defend themselves. 50 prefers patience. He jokes, posts memes, and lets the internet do what it does best, dig? But make no mistake, behind the jokes is a man who understands power, timing, and strategy better than almost anyone in the music industry. And with the announcement of a new documentary targeting Diddy, that long game is finally coming into focus. To understand why this documentary feels so intense, you have to understand the history between 50 Cent and Diddy. This isn't a sudden beef. This tension has been building quietly for years. Publicly, 50 has always framed his comments as humor. I'm just joking, it's entertainment, but the consistency of his focus on Diddy tells a deeper story. He doesn't randomly pick targets. Wait, 50 locks in on someone? It's usually because he believes there's something the public doesn't fully see yet, Diddy. For decades represented success, luxury, and untouchable status in hip-hop. He wasn't just a rapper or producer, he was an empire. Bad Boy Records shaped the sound of the late 90s and early 2000s. Diddy positioned himself as a kingmaker, a mogul who could make or break careers. And for a long time, nobody challenged that image publicly. People whispered behind closed doors, but in public, silence. That silence is what 50 Cent has always hated. 50 came into the industry as an outsider with nothing to lose. He was shot, blackballed, and written off before he ever became famous. That experience shaped him. He doesn't trust industry power, structures, and he especially doesn't respect people he believes abuse their influence. Over the years, 50 has hinted, sometimes jokingly, sometimes not, that Diddy's public image didn't match private reality. At the time, most people laughed it off. But now, with serious allegations surrounding Diddy already circulating in the media, those old jokes don't sound so funny anymore. This is where the documentary becomes dangerous. Unlike social media posts or interviews, a documentary carries weight, suggests research, evidence, structure. It says, I'm not just talking, me presenting a case. 50 Cent knows that. He's already proven himself as a powerful producer through shows like Power, BMF, and other successful projects. He understands storytelling, suspense, and how to keep an audience locked in. This isn't some rushed project fueled by emotion. It feels calculated. Sources close to the situation suggest that 50 has been collecting material for years. Old interviews, archive footage, industry stories that never made headlines. Patterns that only become obvious when you line them up side by side. And if that's true, then this documentary isn't about one incident, it's about a system. A long-running culture of silence, fear, and protection inside the music industry. What makes this even more intense is the timing. Diddy is already under massive public scrutiny. Lawsuits, accusations, and investigations have changed how people view him almost overnight. The same media that once praised his hustle is now questioning his legacy. And right when the world is paying attention, 50 Cent steps forward and says, "I'm not done." That's not accidental. That's pressure. Some people see this as cruelty. Others see it as justice. But from 50's perspective, this is business. In his mind, if someone spent years controlling narratives, silencing critics, and benefiting from power, then they don't get sympathy when that power disappears. 50 has said many times that he believes in survival of the smartest, not the strongest. And right now, he believes the truth is the strongest weapon. There's also another layer people often overlook. 50 Cent doesn't need Diddy's downfall to succeed. He's already wealthy, respected, and influential. That's what makes his involvement so unsettling. This isn't desperation, it's intention. When someone with nothing to gain still chooses to speak, people start asking why. Industry insiders are reportedly nervous not because they're named directly, but because documentaries have a way of reopening old doors. Once one story is told, others follow. People who stayed quiet for years suddenly feel safe enough to talk. And if 50's project does what many expect, it could encourage more voices to come forward. Not just about Diddy, but about the wider culture of exploitation in entertainment. This is why some are calling it torture. Not physical, but psychological. 50 Cent understands something very few people do. Silence can be broken slowly. You don't need to shout. You don't need to accuse directly. You let the audience connect the dots themselves. You release information piece by piece. You let anticipation do the work. Every time 50 posts a vague caption or a laughing emoji, it keeps the conversation alive. It forces Diddy on everyone watching to sit with uncertainty. And uncertainty is powerful. Diddy built his career on control of artists, control of narratives, control of perception. This documentary threatens all three. It removes control and replaces it with exposure. Even if Diddy never appears on camera, his absence would speak volumes. And if he does, every word would be analyzed, paused, replayed, and dissected online. Part of what makes this moment so important is how it reflects a shift in hip-hop culture. The era of untouchable moguls is ending. Social media, independent journalism, and long-form documentaries have changed the balance of power. You don't need a major label to tell a story anymore. You just need credibility, reach, and timing. And 50 Cent has all three. This isn't just about two men. It's about accountability in an industry that has avoided it for decades. About asking uncomfortable questions. Who protected who? Who knew what? And why did it take so long for the truth to surface? As part one of this story unfolds, one thing becomes clear. 50 Cent isn't attacking blindly. He's setting a stage. And once the documentary drops, the conversation won't be about jokes anymore. It will be about facts, patterns, and consequences. As the pressure around Diddy continues to build, the most unsettling part isn't what has already been revealed. It's what still hasn't been said. This is where 50 Cent's documentary strategy becomes truly effective. Instead of rushing to accusations, the focus appears to be on patterns of behavior, industry silence, and the people who looked the other way. That approach doesn't just challenge one man. It challenges an entire system that allowed power to go unchecked for decades. One of the most powerful tools in any documentary is contrast, and 50 Cent understands this well. Expect to see the glamorous public image of Diddy placed directly beside uncomfortable moments from the past hold interviews, clips, and statements that hit differently in today's context. Moments that once seemed harmless or were ignored may now raise serious questions. When audiences see these side by side, they don't need to be told what to think. They reach their own conclusions, and that's far more damaging than direct accusations. For years, Diddy's influence extended far beyond music. Artists depended on him for exposure, money, and credibility. That kind of control creates fear. Speaking out becomes risky when your career, finances, or reputation are tied to one person. This dynamic is not unique to Diddy, but his status made it more visible. The documentary reportedly explores how power imbalances in the industry create environments where silence becomes survival. 50 Cent's role in exposing this is complicated. He is not positioning himself as a hero or a victim. Instead, he plays the role of the observer who refused to forget. While others moved on or stayed quiet, he kept notes, publicly and privately. His past comments, once dismissed as trolling, now look like breadcrumbs. In hindsight, they feel less like jokes and more like reminders that certain stories never fully disappear. Another key theme expected in Part 2 is how the industry protects its most profitable figures. When someone generates money, influence, and connections, problems are often buried instead of addressed. Lawyers get involved, NDAs are signed, narratives are shaped. Over time, the truth becomes fragmented and accountability fades. The documentary doesn't need to name every incident to make this point. It simply needs to show how often powerful people avoid consequences. This is where things become uncomfortable for many beyond Diddy himself. Executives, collaborators, and media outlets all played relentless in building and maintaining the image. The documentary's power lies in asking indirect questions. Who stayed silent? Who benefited? Who chose profit over ethics? These questions force viewers to rethink not just Diddy's legacy, but the culture that celebrated him without scrutiny for so long. The emotional weight of this part of the story also comes from the people who may finally speak. Even short statements, blurred faces, or anonymous accounts can shift public perception. When multiple voices describe similar experiences or feelings, it creates credibility. It shows consistency. And consistency is hard to dismiss as coincidence. 50 Cent understands that you don't need dramatic music or shocking visuals to make an impact. Sometimes all it takes is letting people talk. Long pauses, awkward silences, moments where the camera lingers. These techniques create discomfort, and discomfort leads to reflection. Viewers are forced to sit with the idea that what they once admired may have been built on something darker. Another layer explored in this phase is the idea of legacy versus truth. Diddy's accomplishments in music and business are undeniable, but the documentary seems to ask a difficult question. Can success erase harm? Or does success sometimes hide it? This isn't about canceling history, it's about understanding it honestly. And that honesty can be painful. Meanwhile, 50 Cent continues to apply pressure without saying much publicly. His silence becomes part of the strategy. By stepping back and letting speculation grow, he allows the documentary to speak for him. Every time the project is mentioned online, debates reignite. Supporters argue that exposure is necessary. Critics accuse him of cruelty. But both sides are talking in. That keeps the spotlight exactly where he wants it. What makes Part 2 especially tense is the feeling that the audience is being prepared for something bigger. This section doesn't deliver a final blow. Instead, it builds momentum. It creates emotional investment. It makes viewers question everything they thought they knew. By the end, the message is clear. This story is not about one headline or one lawsuit, it's about a long-standing culture of silence. For Diddy, this is a nightmare scenario. Legal battles can be fought in court. Public opinion is harder to control. Once doubt enters the conversation, it spreads. And once people start re-examining the past, reputations change permanently, even if no new evidence emerges. The recontextualization alone can be devastating. This is why many describe 50 Cent's approach as psychological warfare. He doesn't need to attack directly. He lets the truth, the timing, and the format do the work. Each episode, each clip, each testimony adds another layer of pressure. And pressure over time breaks even the strongest images. Part 2 leaves the audience in a state of unease. It doesn't give closure. It doesn't offer comfort. Instead, it asks viewers to stay alert, to question power, and to recognize how easily silence becomes complicity. The foundation has been laid, the patterns have been exposed, and the stakes are clear. What comes next won't just affect Diddy. It will affect how the entire industry is judged moving forward by the time the documentary reaches its final sections. The tension is almost unbearable. 50 Cent doesn't need to yell or make dramatic claims. He's built a slow-burning fire that keeps the audience on edge. Part 3 is about consequences, reflection, and the weight of long-held secrets. It's where everything hinted at in parts 1 and 2 begins to feel real, personal, and inescapable. The focus here is less on evidence and more on impact. How do the patterns revealed in the previous sections affect the people involved? The artists, executives, collaborators, and Diddy himself. It shows the ripple effects of unchecked power. Every decision, every silence, every moment of self-preservation has a cost. And the cost is not just financial or reputational, it's emotional and ethical. Viewers see how influence can intimidate, shape behavior, and suppress truth for years. 50 Cent also uses this section to highlight accountability versus public perception. Diddy's career is full of achievements, but the documentary asks hard questions. At what point does success become a shield for misconduct? How much responsibility do those in positions of influence bear when others are harmed? These questions aren't easy for viewers to answer, and that's the point. The discomfort forces reflection, making the documentary feel less like gossip and more like a mirror. Held up to the industry itself, another key element of Part 3 is pacing. By now, the narrative has been meticulously layered historical context, public versus private behavior, industry dynamics, and the final section emphasizes the emotional weight of it all. Clips are drawn out. Pauses linger. Interviews, even when edited carefully, feel raw. This part is where the audience feels the psychological pressure 50 Cent has been building all along. A slow but undeniable tension that mirrors the impact on Diddy behind the scenes. Finally, Part 3 hints at what comes next without giving everything away. It leaves open the question, will the industry finally change? Or will the cycle repeat? By ending on this note, the documentary ensures that viewers walk away thinking about the broader implications, not just the drama between two figures. 50 Cent's message is clear. This isn't about a personal vendetta. It's about revealing truths that were hidden for too long, and ensuring that power and influence are examined carefully in the process. In these final minutes, the audience is left with a mix of awe, unease, and reflection. The story feels complete in its arc, yet unresolved in the real world, reinforcing that while 50 Cent controls the narrative in the documentary, the consequences extend far beyond the screen. This is the moment to stay tuned and pay attention, because once 50 Cent's documentary drops, everything changes. It's not just another story about hip-hop drama, it's a deep dive into power, influence, and the consequences of silence. What you've seen so far is only the beginning. The clips, the interviews, the patterns, everything builds toward a conversation the industry has avoided for years. Don't scroll past this. Don't ignore the whispers or the memes. The documentary isn't just about 50 Cent or Diddy. It's about understanding the culture that shaped the music you love, the decisions behind the scenes, and the people who stayed silent while others suffered. This is your chance to witness history from a perspective that's raw, unfiltered, and unapologetic. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and follow closely. Every update matters. Share your thoughts in the comments, debate with friends, and engage with the story as it unfolds. Be part of the conversation, because this documentary isn't just entertainment, it's a lesson in power, accountability, and the truth that no empire can hide forever. When it drops, the world will be watching, and you don't want to be the one who misses it. Stay ready. Stay informed. This is bigger than music hits. The story everyone will be talking about.